Hey everybody. So I am sick of looking at my Frostgrave terrain. Wanted to make some new stuff, and I had this Corpsewrack Mausoleum set. Actually, I got the sprues off eBay, a long time ago, and some of this video was shot a long time ago, maybe even years ago, and basically I did the base coat on this stuff, and then threw it in a box and put it in a closet and kind of forgot about it. But this stuff is out of print now. It's Warcry terrain, and I kind of wish that I had the map and the cards and stuff that go with it. Because I don't have those. I only got the sprues off of eBay. Somebody, people pieced them out on eBay, and I got it on the cheap. But yeah, I'm going to be mostly using it for Frostgrave, and then we're going to do Warcry 2 soon. But yeah, we're going to be playing Frostgrave 2nd Edition. You might notice that Frostgrave 2nd Edition is a lot thicker than 1st Edition. Don't be intimidated by that. 2nd Edition, there's mostly just a lot more scenarios in here, and then there's the basic rules are the same, and then Frostgrave rules, you can kind of condense them down to a page, so but yeah, I'm probably going to do a video talking about changes to Frostgrave in the 2nd Edition, but we've got this terrain done and we're going to talk about that. And then I'm having some friends over tomorrow. We're going to play. I'm going to teach them some 2nd Edition. One of them has played one game with me. One of them has never played a game. And then yeah, so should be getting all of that out very soon. So first up, what I did was I gave all these guys a little bit of a kind of zenithal highlight with some really dark gray paint. So I'm just going to kind of give them an all-over coat with this nice dark gray color. And then I went in and dry brushed on some pigments to add to kind of the stone effect. It's something that I like to do, and it's not a necessary step, I don't think. I just I like how it sort of dulls down the finish, and sometimes it even adds a little bit of texture, and just makes a nice looking stone. But that's just going to be my base layer. One important thing though about using the pigments is that if you do use them on your paint job, you have to seal them down after, because they'll just sort of come off like dust, later, if you don't actually physically seal them down onto the paint. And as the base for all of the metal on all of my roofs, I'm going to be using some P3 Deathless metal, and it's just it's a nice dark kind of brass color, and yeah, I'm gonna use that as the base for anything that's metal, because I'm going to be doing some kind of copper brass verdigris kind of stuff later. And I'm using a flat to do this, because it's just, this is, what flats are meant for, is drawing kind of flat shapes with the brush. It's going to speed things up, make it a little easier. So I'm going to start going in right now, pretty early with the oil paints. I'm going to be doing a lot of oil paint stuff on this project to do streak and grime. It's kind of the definition of streak and grime to me, is that you use oil paint to create some kind of muddy, grimy effects. but I'm going to be using it to do these copper patinas, and you can get some really cool looking effects using acrylic paints, but there's really no other way to kind of duplicate the effects that you can get with oils doing this kind of stuff. And there's also going to be some kind of chemistry stuff that I'm going to be doing later to sort of try to get like a chemical reaction, or I'm going to be using the oil's really long working time in my favor. And so all I'm doing right now is I've got a couple of colors of Winsor & Newton paints. I've got a kind of a blue-green, forest green. It's a viridian color, and it's just kind of like a nice sort of saturated green. And then I'm using a Prussian blue, a very saturated deep blue as well. And then I'm just gonna kind of start washing these colors onto there, and you'll notice that I'm not being careful at all, because I want this stuff to just kind of streak and run all over the place and really get some cool looking kind of patina effects going. So you do have to thin your oil paints with something. I'm using some odorless mineral spirits. All that means is it's paint thinner and it doesn't stink. It's just marketing. That's all that means. But it's going to create these really cool looking kind of streaky effects. It's going to sort of break later and just create this cool looking copper patina, this interesting looking verdigris that's you can't really replicate with anything else. And while it's wet, you can kind of dab off areas, or what you can do is let it dry, and then you can go in and sort of rehydrate it. Like you can use some more mineral spirits in a Q-tip or something, and then just sort of dab away at it in areas where you don't want it. But don't be afraid to actually paint with oil paints, because oil paints are wonderful. I mean, just take it from me. I love oil paints. They're really great to paint with, and I'm not just doing like streaky stuff. I'm not just using them as a wash. Like I'm gonna actually paint with them and try and get some cool looking effects with the oil paints. But oil paints are wonderful. Don't be scared of oil paints. There's nothing scary about oil paints. So you can see kind of what these guys look like after they're sort of dry. This is after several hours, but if you're painting like thick, really, really thick layers of oil paint, it could take like a month to dry, or even longer. But I'm using that to my advantage. I'm gonna wait until it's like mostly dry, and then I'm just gonna come in and kind of like dab at it and push around the pigments and stuff until I get that effect that I'm looking for. But yeah, you can do some cool like kind of chemical reaction things with oil paints too. So oil paints, oil and water, they don't really mix too well. And then I'm going to be using alcohol inks on top of this stuff too. So I'm using a combination of acrylics and alcohol inks and oil paint to get some effects, because basically none of them get along. Rubbing alcohol, if you use rubbing alcohol in your acrylic paint, it'll make it sort of it will make the binder sort of break down and do weird things. And then oil and acrylic don't really get along. Like they don't. You're not supposed to paint on top of oil with acrylic, because the acrylic binder doesn't like to settle the right way on top of oil paint, but it's just going to add to that kind of cool looking patina effect. But I'm going to be using a few different things with these the alcohol inks. So I'm going to use a brush, and I'm just going to kind of stipple on some like little dots, because I want the rusty kind of look to be uneven. So I'm going to use a brush, and I'm going to use a sea sponge, and I'm also going to use a crapped out kind of flat dry brush, and I'm going to muddle those. I guess in oil painting you would call it scumbling, and it's where you're sort of pushing the brush into the paint job and sort of pushing it around and sort of creating like a muddy effect. But yeah, I'm gonna be doing like some sort of scumbling on top of these oil paints that aren't like totally dry, and just sort of grinding the ink pigments into the oil, and then that's going to create some kind of like that's going to be part of the like chemical reaction thing that I'm going for, because I want this to look like real rust, like real copper patina rust. And the alcohol inks actually do make a nice rust on their own, but this is going to be another step. So this is just a really crapped out flat that I have, it's a dry brush, and I just keep it around, for things like this. You really don't want to use your good brushes for scumbling or doing, dry brushes. I use like cheap craft brushes or brushes that are just destroyed, like this. Now I'm going to use some Vallejo model color verdigris, and I'm just going to go right on top of the oil and the inks, and this is where some of the like chemical reaction stuff is going to happen. So I'm also using some of my airbrush thinner, my DIY airbrush thinner and quick change cleaner type stuff, and this is mostly Windex and rubbing alcohol. It also has like a flow improver, kind of a wetting agent that's going to slow down the drying time. It's giving me a really long working time with these acrylics. But also, when I put it down on top of there, so first off, I'm going to try and pin wash it. I'm going to put it into places where I want the rust to kind of collect, like next to nuts and bolts, and in between panels, and places where rain is going to be hitting and sort of drizzling down. And but putting this on top of the other stuff, the alcohol inks and the oils, none of these things get along. And there's rubbing alcohol in my airbrush thinner. There's like a tiny bit of ammonia in there, and all of these things should not react well with each other, and that's going to add to the kind of like patina effect and give it a more natural looking rust. And I'm not done with this color, the verdigris, the model color. But for now, I'm just gonna kind of pin wash it into some places where I want it, and kind of push it around a little bit and see if I can get some sort of reactions to happen with the other paints. I'm also going to do a little bit of edge highlighting with this stuff too, and kind of, try and push it into places where I want to draw attention, to draw the eye, and also where rain would be hitting, rust would form. And I'm going to be doing some more stuff with the pigments again. And I left one of these guys, these little mausoleum guys, without the pigments on it, and then I just sealed it. So I am going to seal everything, and I'm going to be doing that kind of periodically in between, because I want to kind of like seal down the effects that I put down. And again, like with the pigments, you have to seal them down, or they'll just come up. Like when you're either handling them, when you're playing with them, or they'll come up when you're putting other paint down. So yeah, I'm gonna put some pigments down on these guys, and then I'm gonna seal them. So the mausoleum on the left got some pigments on it, and then it was sealed. The one on the right didn't. And you can see that the varnish that I used is kind of a little tiny bit gloss. It has like kind of a satin finish to it. And I mean, doing more of the streak and grime stuff is going to get rid of that, but so will putting on pigments. But yeah, so now I'm going to be doing some kind of streak and grime oil stuff on the stone. And I'm using a few different colors. I'm using an olive green, an ivory black, and a burnt, it's either a burnt sienna or a burnt umber. And again, these are more just oil paints, and I'm going to be using some more odorless acrylic thinner, odorless mineral spirits to thin them out, and then I'm just gonna do some streaky dirt on them. But the burnt sienna is going to be part of my iron rust effects too, so I want it to be kind of a deep dark brownish red. So it's the next day. I let everything dry overnight, and I'm gonna start doing some dry brushing, and I'm using some Payne's Gray and some unbleached titanium, some titanium buff white, and these are heavy body acrylics, meaning that they're not liquid. They have a lot of body to them. So I like to use some heavy body acrylics when I'm doing dry brushing on terrain stuff. I'm also going to use a cheapo craft brush, a flat, or a makeup brush, and that's pretty much what I use when I do dry brushing on like terrain stuff especially. So yeah, I'm just gonna work some of that paint into there, and then I'm gonna take a lot of it off and test it on my hand, see if I'm picking up the ridges of my hand, and then sort of go in like all directions. So, when you're dry brushing, you want to start sort of with your highest highlights and then work your way down. And also, catch raised edges. But if you're doing something like this, that's like a flat piece that's like lying flat on the ground, you kind of want to work in like circles, like in all directions, so that it doesn't look like the light is coming from one direction, like it looks like it's sort of coming from above. But yeah, I mean, just remember too that this is terrain. Like, you don't have to spend too much time on it, dry brushing it and making it look perfect, because you want it to be like a stage for your minis. You want your minis to be the thing that looks like super cool and attracts all the attention. So don't worry too much about dry brushing like rocks. And I like to use soft makeup brushes to do terrain stuff too. And but one thing is that you don't try and mix paint. Like, you see me where I'm sort of grabbing a little bit of the more of the Payne's Gray or more of the titanium buff, depending on where I'm painting on this guy. But don't try to like mix them together with the makeup brush, because basically it just gets super loaded up with paint like really fast. They aren't meant for painting with paint, they're meant for putting on makeup. So like the bristles don't really stand up to it. But they're, it does work really well for dry brushing. You just kind of need to dab off a little bit and do it on the tippy tops of the models. And then I'll be using like a smaller makeup brush to get into like other little details and like skulls and stuff like that. So now I'm going to come back in with the Vallejo model color verdigris color, and I'm going to thin it down. I'm going to do some airbrushing with it, and I'm going to thin it down a lot, like really thin, like thinner than I would normally thin it down, like water consistency, because for a few different reasons. So one, I want it to be a glaze. I want to do a very thin layer of paint, and I want the binder to break. I want these I want the paint to break, because I want more of those kind of interesting looking streakies. So yeah, and also on my airbrush, I'm going to turn the compressor's pressure down like really low, because I want to get some like interesting looking little splatters to add to more of the patina effect. So yeah, lots of stuff going on with this very thin little airbrush layer. But because this is such a light color, I also want to make sure that I'm putting it on the tops of the models, because if it's in a dark, if it's in a deep recessed shadow, the light isn't going to be hitting it, and it doesn't matter if that's where the rain would flow and take the rust. It's not gonna, if it's in a deep recessed shadow, it's gonna look really dark. So that the only parts that I want this really bright color to be are on the tops of the models. and I'm gonna use the same color to put some little verdigris patina stuff on other areas that I want to be like kind of a brass color. I was kind of struggling with the roses on these guys. So, you know, I want to use these for Frostgrave. I want to use them for like Warcry. And I don't feel like there's a whole lot of roses that grow in Frostgrave and Warcry. Just doesn't seem like something that happens. So I'm considering I might paint them, you know, I might put them in later, because I do have like Nighthaunts, and I love my Nighthaunts, but I'm thinking about making the roses like actual like sculptural element things like on the sides of these guys, because I kind of like the way that this like patina looks better than having like little roses growing on things. So I haven't really decided what to do about that yet, but I do really like the patina look. The patina looks awesome. So that's the finished paint job for now. I'm going to be using these guys for a game, for Frostgrave. If you guys have been waiting for Frostgrave, I know that people have been saying that they're waiting for more Frostgrave. We're going to play tomorrow, and it might take me a little while to edit the video. I have a lot going on this week. I have a wedding. I'm going to be out of town. Not my wedding, but a friend's wedding, and so yeah, but I really like these guys a lot. I think that they look awesome, especially with these Nighthaunts. So yeah, expect to see these guys in the next Frostgrave game that we're going to be playing. We're going to be playing Phantasmal Treasure, and these are going to be my ghosts in the spooky mausoleum. And yeah, there's going to be treasure too. Here's a shot of the table that I have set up. I'm going to be teaching a couple of my friends how to play 2nd edition, and yeah, there's not too many changes between Frostgrave 1st edition and 2nd edition as far as like actual rules go, but we'll get into that, and yeah, looking forward to it. And welcome all my new subscribers, and I'm gonna have a follow-up on the mini giveaway. Somebody won. I'll let you know about that. And yeah, it's been really cool to see the channel grow like crazy lately, you guys, and I appreciate you. So yeah, thanks for watching, and take care of yourselves, and stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, and I'll see you next time.